Hello all. Hey Becky,
Hey, Frank,
thanks for the email.
you got it. I think Bill's figuring it out.
Yep.
Judy's a big help. Oh, it must.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, see, it's not on the screen until you scroll around.
The screen was just kind of black at the bottom. Yeah, until you.
But see, mine wasn't.
Oh,
Mine's clear until you scroll. Then it shows up black. Then you can mute
oh,
yourself.
extra steps.
Yep.
Howdy.
Howdy, Bill.
Hi, Bob.
So, well, we'll see now. We need one more person to have a quorum, right?
And I told Steve about the meeting.
I stopped by there at the town highway department, but there was nobody around. I saw his truck was there though, so he's out working somewhere today.
Yeah, they were out.
Hmm.
So, Bill, they're changing the Patriots uniforms next year.
Yeah.
Going back to the red ones with the guy who's in the position with his head on the ground. The old ones from the 60s.
Yeah. Huh.
Hope they don't get as bad as they were in the 60s.
No, they weren't doing too good back then. In fact, I didn't really start watching them until Brady got on board.
I didn't watch them much either. Till that they started winning, that made it fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always been a Celtics, and I've been a fan of the Red Sox and the Celtics and the Bruins, but not particularly the Patriots. But they had a great run.
Yep.
Our family had seasons growing up because the owner of Bonanza Bus Line put together a package. I think we were 15 rows from the top tier, the very last thing, up in the bleeder section, but we had I think 40 seats or 50 seats, and we used to fill the bus up and leave Rhode Island every game day and go to that and sit on
really?
the old aluminum seats. Yeah, we had a George Sage owned Bonanza Bus Lines, and he put it together.
Great.
Yeah.
I have no desire to go to a professional football game, freeze my ass off, and see these little tiny football players. I can sit in my living room, drink a beer with the heat on,
A lot more comfortable.
and then I don't have to wait in traffic all day to get there, or when I leave.
My sister and brother-in-law are still diehard fans. I haven't been to games since I was in high school. So
There's Mike Vinsky.
I'm gonna try to call. I bet I should try to call Steve.
okay.
So I got the minutes. Quite a bit of reading there.
Oh yeah, I'm all caught up till today. I added the two boards at the bottom only because I thought I didn't know if we had to record them into our minutes because it was a meeting of ours too. But
I think you should just note. I don't know if we can. We don't really get the opportunity to amend those. So you should just note that those are the minutes as created by Linda or by the administrative assistant or whatever her title is there. And so that that we don't touch them. We just touch ours, right?
Yep.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
So I guess we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll go on with the minutes first. And I've got a couple copies printed out with a couple of small corrections, revisions, whatever. Frank, on the first one is, I guess it's April 20th.
Yep.
And I just want to, if you go down the first page, I don't know if everybody else has these minutes in front of them or.
No, I don't.
Well, it says here that I said that Bob responding to Steve, small town governments, et cetera. Do you have that, Frank?
Yep.
Okay, what I said, I believe, was that town employees and departments will advocate for their projects
Advocate. Okay.
instead of push. I think that advocate is what I said, and I think that's probably a more accurate way of saying what
Okay.
happens. And that I thought that the building committee should scrutinize, evaluate them independently. So like cross off from a different perspective and put in independently. I think that would work better from my standpoint from what I said that night. So if you cross off, push their agendas and put advocate for their projects, and then cross off from a different perspective and put independently, I think it's more accurate. Further down a couple BGs and RFs, it says BG, the finance committee is independent. And by law, I should just insert by law, because that's according to the bylaws, that it is independent. So
Okay.
it'll be important to put that in. And then updating the library bathroom, I met with Charlie. You have Charlie C. Well, it was Charlie K. Charlie Kanicki. You can put his name in there. It's KANIECKI.
KANIC.
EIECKI. And in that same paragraph, it's just the next step is to evaluate the existing. You have tank and system with an engineer. Just evaluate the existing system. That's a Title V inspection. That was our next step, and that's all we need to say there. And to spend $1,000 to do the Title V inspection. That's Title V, Roman numeral.
Yep.
I believe.
Okay.
Good.
So after Charlie Konecki,
Yeah.
the health agent.
Further down that paragraph, I propose that you write the next step is to evaluate the existing system. And you don't have to cross off with an engineer, because we don't need an engineer to do the Title V inspection.
Existing system. Okay.
And then, but then it says we will need to spend $1,000 to do the Title V inspection, I think.
Right. I typed that in already. Yeah.
And then, so that's the only other thing is that that's it. That's my comments or suggestions for that meeting.
Okay.
Anybody else? Steve, Bill, Becky?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, the other one, Frank, that's May 19th.
Bob,
Yeah, go ahead.
would you like me to put these on the screen so everybody can follow you?
I think that'd be great.
Okay,
May 19th meeting.
okay, 1 second. Screen share. Yeah. Oops, sorry. Here we go.
Okay, on this one, about 2/3 of the way down the page, Steve Stormtrooper Sullivan. I had no, SS is not Stormtrooper. I had no idea what Hayden Roofing. Hayden Roofing is spelled HAYDEN, that's all. And the next line, it says we were doing as a response to the leak in the gym roof, and then to the, not the school, but the asphalt roof, I think.
To the gym and then to the asphalt roof.
Yeah. And then a few lines down, I've got BG, instituting buildings need questionnaires yearly. That sentence doesn't quite work. So I just think what we should get across is we talked about the town departments should have should receive a questionnaire annually from the building committee.
Okay. Yep. Receive an annual questionnaire.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at the bottom of that page, it says, I will contact them, because after Steve recommended
yeah.
that we use the company, I asked for contact information and I still haven't got that. So Steve, reminder, could you send that to me at some point?
Yes, I can. I just found it.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have on that one.
Okay.
Which one's next, Bob?
There's none, there are no next. The other ones are, I don't think we can amend the select board minutes, can we?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
no.
we're just gonna put a note at the bottom that those are the select board minutes as recorded by Linda,
Okay,
right?
that makes sense.
okay?
I was
So I'd
wondering
like
how you
to,
had 4 meetings.
yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for those 2 meetings as amended. Is there a second to that?
Second?
Any comment on that or any other questions or other objections or things? Want to have a vote on that?
Okay.
Okay, well, we reverse alphabetical order. We start with Will Wells.
Aye.
Bill Wells says aye. Steve?
Sullivan, I.
McGinn, aye.
Groves, aye.
Motion
Unanimous.
passes.
First item we had on our agenda was the library toilet project or investigation. And Becky, we decided to hire Greg's wastewater. Greg sent their project manager down yesterday. He called me today, Becky. I don't know if you knew about that.
Nope.
But he basically thought that, somehow or other, that miscommunication, he thought that we were needing, he was told that we needed a design, which we don't really need from him. We needed what his bid represented, which was just a Title V inspection and a drawing of what the system is presently. So then we hand that to an engineer. He felt that that wasn't clear, so he objected to that. I said, well, that's not a problem because we don't really want that from you. What we want is a Title V inspection. He said, well, the other thing was that there's all this other stuff going on in the parking lot, which kind of freaked me out. There's gas going to the hut and there's power going to the hut and there's, and I had to do a dig safe declaration, and dig safe was not cooperative, and he's complaining about dig safe to me. And I said, well, what's the upshot? We don't really have to do any digging in that part at this stage of the game, because everything that we want is downstream from that. It's from the tank to the D box to the field. And so, but he kept talking about dig safe and Mass Electric. And he said, look, basically, I just feel this is going to turn into a horror show, so I don't want to do the job.
Serious?
Yep. So I said, well, if you don't want to do the job, I'm not going to try to convince you to do the job. So that's where we are on that. He bailed out. If the building committee wants me to call him back and try to get him to come back, or if you want to do that, Becky, I don't understand why he would want to bail out, but he's probably just busy and he doesn't want to mess with us. He said he was freaked out about the design, and he's also freaked out about dig safe. But he said, I'm not going to put my machine into the ground because there's so much stuff going on in the ground and I can't figure out where it is. Well, if I had met him there, I would have told him where the stuff is, because it's not in any way.
I did tell him where it
Yeah.
was, and that there was, it's all the lines run to the hut, which is 6 to 10 feet from where the D box.
The tank, right.
And the
It
tank.
doesn't even cross the sewer line, because it comes from the power comes from the box, the panel, and the gas comes from the gas tank, right?
Well,
Doesn't have its own gas tank, does it?
yes,
Oh, it
there's,
has its own gas tank. So there's no problem even with the gas from town.
well, there is a propane line that connects to the other generator. So it runs in parallel with the electric. But
Right,
that's
but it's
still not
not,
where
doesn't
he
cross the
has to
sewer line, and
go.
we don't want to dig up the sewer line anyway.
Plus, I told him that the highway department was available to help with the digging, so his machine didn't even have to dig.
Well, he was gonna come with his machine anyway. That was his plan. That was what the bid was. So anyway, he's out, so we have to get somebody else. He called me to tell me he was bailing out. I talked to him for about a half an hour, so.
And that was Philip.
Phil, yeah. And, at some point when someone's telling you they don't want to work for you, you'll just say, okay, no. But there's other people that will. Mike Levine said he would do it for us. His price was in the same ballpark. Alan Weiss, I talked to him. He said he would do it, put us on the schedule. There's a guy that Mike referred to me that I haven't called, but I got his contact information from the internet. So, we need a Title V inspection. We need somebody to do this evaluation. I think I understood that Tim was going to help us. Tim and Steve, or Steve would help us when we did the next phase. The next phase is to scratch around and see what the ground conditions are across the street. But the first phase, which I think is a really good thing for the town to do, is to do an inspection of the existing system to see what it is and where it's at and then have a record of what that, that is what that inspection provides in terms of the size of the field, the extent of the field, and all the rest. So I think that's a good investment for the town because there's no documentation. And, we do have the 2 risers, but I believe those risers are over the tank, right, Steve? Not over the D box.
I've never seen the D box. I've only worked on the front part of the tank where I.
Right, there are two risers that are fairly close together, which usually indicates to me they're both over the tank.
Yeah, they should both be over the tank.
And that tank is probably, how low is that tank in the earth?
The top of it might have been a foot deep.
Well, that's
maybe.
all?
It maybe 18. It wasn't very deep.
It was closer to 18 inches.
Well, that's
Just
nothing.
one-
So it's one riser. That's all, right?
One column,
Yeah,
One 2-foot riser. Or something.
could be
yeah.
one riser.
Yeah. Oh, because he's saying the other thing is that tank's going to be very deep. I said, well, I don't know. The ground slopes away from the building, and the sewer line doesn't have to be that much grade, in order to flow. That's, as a matter of fact, I've found in other jobs I've done that there's a maximum slope that a sewer line can have because it could be too steep, So anyway, that's where that is at the moment. So next steps, I think, is just get Alan, and I know what the price that Mike gave me. Alan never gave me a price, but he said he would do it, but his schedule was kind of busy. But Alan is going to be probably the most expensive option. He has a machine himself. He does the whole thing with his own machine, just like Greg's does. Okay. But what we're looking for is a price on a Title V inspection.
Is Alan Weiss gonna pump the tank?
Well, it's not clear to me that the tank needs to be pumped. I mean, we need to pump the tank for our own reasons. It's not been pumped.
This Philip guy, he said they had to watch it being pumped to verify flow.
Okay, well, that's something we'd have to establish with the next guy. I didn't even get that far in the conversation because I was going to say to him, well, okay, we can get Petersham to do the pumping while you're there then. I mean, if we can arrange that, but I didn't get that far in the conversation. He told me he wanted to bail out.
So you've been in touch with Mike Levine. He can put us on his calendar.
He would put us on his calendar. I think that was what he indicated to me when I spoke with him. And he said it would probably be a half a day and that it'd be a half a day for either Clark or Tim or Stoney or somebody. And half a day for him would be $500. And then the drawings would be in addition to that. So I think that his price would be probably a little higher than Greg's. That's one of the reasons I was pushing for Greg's. It was the cheapest and was going to provide us with the drawing that we needed. And in any case, we don't commit to an engineering for the library until we investigate the options and potential costs, okay? But we, Title 5 is separate from that. It just tells you existing conditions.
And Mike Levine has the radio.
I don't know if he does have that, a device like that. He said he would do it, but you know, he probably does. I don't think that things are that rare or that difficult to get, you know, so if it's a magnetic device or a radio device or something else, you know, a camera or all the above, I don't know, you know.
He maps it out though. That's the bottom
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, and Philip was really upset that I didn't have a plan to give him. But
Yeah,
you
well, you know,
set
that's,
that up in the beginning, right? You had told him we didn't.
I told the office manager, Brooke, that we had no documentation. But we did know where the tank was and we had worked on it and it was functioning system. But we wanted to do this study in order to establish what it was that we had and to investigate the possibility of adding another line to it. That's all. Yeah. So we leaded that in. So that was clear. I don't understand why he didn't want to do it, but he said I think he was freaked out about the other. I mean, this is not rare for the underground service around septic system. You know what I mean? It's like, how many systems does he have where there's only one thing going on underground? I don't know. And those utilities are all in pipe, you know, it's probably Schedule 80 pipe. So that's very, very durable pipe. So I don't know. If he's running a mini, it's kind of hard to trash him. So, but that's where we're at. So the
So
other
do we
thing,
need, do
Go
we
ahead.
need to vote on going with Mike Levine now?
well, I think that either of those two guys would be acceptable to me, you know, Mike or Alan, but I think we have to get a price from Alan to evaluate his option, because I think I know that for Mike, it's probably going to be, let's just say we could if we it wouldn't exceed $1,500 for everything, but I think it would be less than that. It's particularly if we had the town do the digging, it would be under $1,000 probably for Mike. And for Alan, I'm just guessing that he's probably going to be the most expensive option of the three. But we have to ask him to give us a price. I think that's probably a good thing to do, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
So who's going to call him? You want me to call him? Becky, you going to call him?
I can call him if you want.
I'll call him. Let me call him and I'll explain what we want. Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right. Okay.
Okay.
So that's where that's at. You know, the other thing is, yeah, we just want to get this Title V thing done. Then we'll proceed from there.
So if you're hiring Alan Weiss, he would give us the engineering answers too.
Yeah, but we don't want him
But
to
you
do
don't
the
want them
engineering, but
yet.
we could ask him to give us a price on the Title V and say that once that's established, we'll talk more about the next phase, because it's going to take some time for us to get him back to do, or maybe when he's in there, he could spend some extra time just doing some investigation and give us some options. But we don't need the engineering at that stage until we compare the options. Now, he might say one option is to do a macerating pump and a 2-inch line down to the tank. Another option is to put in a straight line, which would be the cheapest option, which is what we're hoping that we could accomplish. Just a 4-inch pipe under the road and then connecting with a Y into the existing sewer line. That's the cheapest option for the town. So, but whether that option is doable, that's up to the engineer to decide and to present. And obviously then the cost is going to be a factor, because, but I don't see personally, I don't see any way that adding a toilet and a sink is going to still be adding a toilet and a sink, no matter whether we pump it with a macerating pump or whatever. It's still going to be, we have to evaluate whether the system as it is presently constructed is adequate to handle that or not. And then we know we have the grades, so we'd have to establish that an actual trench could be dug at the right gradient under the road and down to that line, because if there's no ledge or any other obstruction, then the gravity would be the way to go.
The only problem is, Bob, as I think about this, is that it might have to be the pump with a 2-inch pipe, because we may not have that grade, because the two electric lines, the propane line, and anything else that we ran all runs in one ditch right down the edge of the blacktop, and it cuts off the tank from the library.
That's true.
Okay, yeah, see, that's the thing, why this has to be studied in detail, because someone's got to get out there with a laser and determine these grades. And then, say this is the potential path for this line. And if it's, look, you said that those lines are at the edge of the pavement, right?
They run the recycling shed for the light bulbs.
Yeah,
It's between that and the blacktop exit out of the rear of town hall. So it runs straight down through there. So what I'm saying, I don't think you won't have the elevation to get under that or over that. You can't go over it and get into the tank. You'd have to go under it, which
Oh my God.
then you'd be too low. So that's why it most likely end up being the pump with a 2-inch pipe, because you can run that anywhere.
right. So that's what the engineer has to tell us,
And do these old boxes, I mean, do they have multiple entrances that could you access another side of the box with that new line coming from the library to the street side of that box, rather than trying to hit to the T where it's coming in?
Well,
I don't
That's where
if you can't get around those pipes, you'd have to go all the way around the hut and the propane tank and in from the back. You can't, it's gonna be a problem.
I
Might not be
think that really this is what the engineer has to figure out and tell us what options are available, and then what the cost might be for each option. Because that's something that requires a careful study of the elevations and of the location of those lines, on all 3 dimensions. As Steve said, it's got to maintain the right grade. It's got to go in the right direction, and it's got to get there at the right location. So I would think that you'd be wanting to hit that pipe, that sewer line, but hey, the engineer knows more about this stuff than we do. So he's supposed to engineer a solution and be mindful of the cost. So I think that's the Title V inspection. We talked to Alan to see if he wants to help us do a preliminary study at the same time about options, to shoot those grades. You're saying that the lines come down next to the driveway between the cop garage there and the driveway?
Straight from the telephone pole, right along the edge of the blacktop, right between the blacktop and that shed, and down to the propane tank in the shed. But what Becky just said was super interesting about taking that 2-inch pipe, and it might be the easiest thing is to pump it and run it right around the hut and come around the back and just loop right in to where the existing 6-inch pipe goes right into the tank. That would be
Again, this is going to be engineered. We can't just do this from the, on a back of an envelope, and then the engineer's got to stamp it so that he can support it and say that it's going to work. But one thing I do know is that any system that you're pumping sludge, even if it's macerated sludge, it has the fewer turns it takes, the better, So running it around the block a couple of times is probably not the best solution if we come up with another one,
And that's what the engineer will come up with.
That's the engineer's job.
Yep.
So I think that maybe it would be useful to ask him to do a preliminary study and shoot some grades there and see what options that he might think, and what he has a machine. So discuss this with him. I think that we could combine the Title V with some preliminary investigations. Maybe the digging part and the Title V could be done the same day, you know?
How much money does the buildings committee have in its own little pot?
I think it's 21,000 is still in there, something like that, 15 to 20.
So do you think that's a good, I'll talk to those two guys and then I will send information back to this committee if it ever meets again. I'm not, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen there. That's the next subject.
Mhm.
But I will do that. I will call Alan Weiss and call Mike and see what's going on, okay?
Yeah, because we need this regardless of whether it's a library or whatever that, because we want to use that building. So I mean,
Mhm.
this is super important to do.
Yeah, you know, Mike pointed out to me, I was talking to Mike and he made a good point, which was the town was talking about looking for record storage. What if that building ends up being a record storage? Well, what if we don't know what the building is going to be used for. We don't know what's going to happen next Tuesday, the election. We don't know anything. So it'd be best to do these studies and get established what the existing conditions there are and what options we have to that building right now. Then we'll just take the next step whenever that happens.
Yep.
And I think we absolutely need to know what system we have back there because we need to have that information regardless of what we do, right?
Yep.
So as far as the building committee now, Becky sent us an email today saying that there's going to be there was a town announcement that the town was looking for volunteers for the building committee, but I never received that. First time I heard about that was today when you sent that, Becky. So
Yeah, well, do you get other town announcements?
I'm on the town announcement listserv, yes.
Okay, so I think it went out last Thursday or Friday. Anybody on town announce should have gotten it, but I spoke to Frank and he hadn't seen it, so I sent it to all of you guys to be sure you had it.
Yeah, did anybody else get that town announcement?
I didn't see, I saw one for the ZBA, but I didn't see one for this.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. Bill, did you see it?
No, just got it today.
Mike, did you see it? Okay, so it didn't come to us. Maybe we were just being, we were all on the list of not to send to.
Or
But
we didn't check our junk mail
I'll
either.
send it out again to everyone. Things go wrong, who knows?
But so anyway, we'll see how that all pans out. And I guess this might be the final meeting for this regime. So we're going drinking tonight or what are we doing?
Well, some of us are going out shopping for that gold watch.
Oh, good. No, it's probably it's probably like a platinum shovel or something, right?
Yeah. Or one of those elementary school gold stars that, you know, that's probably what it'll come down to. The
Yeah.
budget, yeah, but
Well, so I guess we'll say so long. And anything else to say, Becky? You're moving around the screen here.
I am?
yeah,
You
don't
moved
know
from
why.
down there to up here.
Strange, I haven't moved at all on my screen.
Well, I've
Well, I will
enjoyed it.
send
It's
the
been
information that I get to all you guys and
Yep.
to Becky and to, and then we'll see what happens in the, after the dust clears after all, what's happening, okay? We'll go into the new fiscal year.
okay.
Yep.
It's been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure and I'll see you guys around town.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
guys, for
Thank you.
all the work.